Hey guys, welcome to Herding Little Cows to the Glory of God. You're going to hear a noise in the background because the kids are putting their shoes on so they can go outside. But I'm starting this video now before they get out there because I have a sleeping baby on my lap and I don't know how long he's going to sleep. I have a big stack of books over here. I don't know if you can see them, but big stack of books that we are taking back to the library today. And we had some really good books in this library haul. So I'm going to get books and put them down in piles over here and I'll tell you about the ones we really liked. My kids have been enjoying this I Survived series. I have read a couple of them, but they read them on their own. But they're about a child who, there's the book. I'm not going to say yay or nay to any particular one, but the series is about a child who, it's like a historical fiction. So a child is in an event in history, but that child's not actually there. But they meet people that were in that event. And so it's how they survive different things. The Titanic, the Hindenburg. We have one being eaten by grizzlies or something like that. So I have a couple of those books. The kids liked those. Recently from the library, we got God's Not Dead. Oh, before I do this video, if you don't know me, I'm Sarah. I am mom to 10 kids. We homeschool and we have children that have already grown up and moved out of the home. So we have a wide variety of children in the house. We are Christians. So what I am saying here is from a Christian worldview. And I'm pretty picky about books. So I'm going to tell you books we enjoyed, but I'm also going to tell you some things that may not be a problem for your family, but I'm going to still address them because they're things that my family doesn't read, or that I would just want to know about before I got the book, even if I did choose to read it. I'm not saying that my way is better than anyone else's way. It is just the way that we do things around here. And people have asked me before, how do you use the library system? Because libraries are getting so woke and all of that stuff. Our local library does have things on the shelves that I do not approve of. When we go to the library, I take a quick look through the kids' books that they are picking out. And then when we come home, we have a certain place where we put all of our books. It's like a long bookshelf split into 3 spots. So 2 of the spots, the kids can look at any books that are in those spots. I also have a personal spot where the books that I'm going to read out loud to them, or a book that I might need to review more, or if they happen to find something in one of the books that they got that doesn't go with our standards, they put it on my shelf. My kids are very good at coming to me if there's something that we don't do. So occasionally, like in a kid's book, there will be someone who we find to be inappropriately dressed. And for our family, we dress a certain way, but we don't choose to look at books that have like characters in swimsuits in a provocative way, like that type of thing. I'm not saying that every book that we read, the people in the books are dressed exactly like us, but that type of book we would put on a shelf. So I'm going to show you one of those here in a minute, I think. Anyway, if I find it. But we got a book on our library haul and it's called Toilet, something like that. And it's a David McCulley. And it's like a how things work book. So it talks about how the toilet flushes and it has pictures of that. But on one of the pages, there is a character who is like peeking out of a shower. Just a little more not provocative in that type of way, but just less clothing than I would normally have on somebody. So what we did was we kept that book on my shelf. And when I was ready to read it to the kids, I put my hand over that picture. It was a book that I kind of thought might have something with showers and stuff in it. So I put my hand over that picture. We read the book. That book stayed on my shelf. They didn't look at that book by themselves, if that makes sense. So anyway, back to the stuff. We got these 2. Oh, not back to the stuff yet. Also, how we use the libraries. So our library occasionally has things that are not what our family would read or do. The kids have to check the books with me. If our library was more overt, and ways that I couldn't overlook things, like we don't choose to go to certain things at the library. Like we do not do Halloween, so we don't go to things around October because they might be Halloween related. But our library is not crazy in that. I want the kids to learn to live in the real world. But if we had a library where things were over and excess, what I would do is I would reserve books online, or I would be the one to go in and get books, because I think there is a lot of benefit to reading books, and I cannot afford every book that my family would enjoy. But I think it's also, you need to be careful of what you're getting. So if our library was very, very out there, I would get books off, like I borrow books from the whole library system of the state of Maine, and I'll request a book that I want. And so this was requested through that. We got God's Not Dead 4 and 5. I don't know which one's which, but one of these is about homeschooling. This one, the God's Not Dead, We the People, it's number 4, is about homeschooling rights. And this one, God's Not Dead, In God We Trust, is about voting. He runs as congressman and about voting. And we had some interesting discussions about politics and how politics can get really, really nasty. People can do nasty things to each other. And there's a lot of politicians out there that would claim they are Christian that will not take a stand for Jesus and do things that are biblically the right thing to do because it won't get them the right votes. That's not good. Okay. This book is a book by Luthera Burton Dawson. This is a local book for us. She lived in the town next to us back in the early 1900s. And so she wrote the story. We actually lived right near where her house was. And so my kids know like the shoreline she's talking about and stuff. It was very interesting to see how people did things back then here in our area, because they would ride a horse and buggy to our town to then get on a trolley to go to the next town, which was the big town, to do their shopping. So just to see things like that. I will warn you, this book talks a lot about ghosts in, like, if we had family that was haunting us. It wasn't actually like, oh, there's a ghost here that is haunting us. It was talk about maybe there's a ghost looking over there, that type of thing. I read this book aloud, so we talked about those things. So again, this book is very interesting for local history, but know that that is in there. I have another, I survived. Oh, here's the book I was talking about. Toilet, how it works. This was the one that I put my hand over, the one spot, but we found this book very interesting. And one of my children, it's funny because in the book, sorry, this guy started waking up. In the book, it talks about how they like clean the water and then some of the waste is sent off to make compost. And so one of my kids used the bathroom the other day and then flushed the toilet and they said, oh good, now it's going out to the gardens. It was just really funny. That's gonna go on a farm. So I'm gonna put these books. I'm trying to organize the books as we go of which ones are actually gonna go back. Hi, how are you? Which books are actually going back and which ones we're gonna keep. Do you have a baby here? We have a little baby here. Okay, next book, Lost on a Mountain in Maine. This again is a local book for us. Sorry, the baby's moving the thing. This is a local book. It's about a child. I forget what year it was, but he was lost on a mountain in Maine. He was about 12. Hey, is there anyone still in here? There she is. He just woke up. Naomi's gonna take him out because he wants to go play outside. So his name's Don Fengler. He was 12 years old, it says on the back. And he was actually lost. They were able to track like where they think he walked. And it is an interesting book. I read it out loud to the kids and there were multiple reasons. There is talk about the God of the mountain or something of that nature, like some fairy tale myth that they've heard at campfires. He also is like hallucinating at times where he's seeing things that aren't there. And that was from he hadn't eaten, he hadn't been drinking, he was like sleep deprived, all of that stuff. In this book, he uses the word Christmas, like the holiday Christmas. He uses that in place of like a exclamation word, like wow. But we choose not to use words that people use in place of the name of Jesus, because some people will use those as swear words, but also use them as words of exclamation. So it is in here a lot, that word Christmas. I mean, it's just, it is the word Christmas. I don't remember any other language in this book, but for our family, we don't use that book. So while I read it out loud, I tried to skip over that word. Although occasionally I would see myself saying it because I thought it was part of the sentence and then whatever. So this book, it has now been made into a movie. In this book, he has a faith in God. I don't know exactly what religion he would say, denomination he would say he is or anything, but there is talk about God in here, which I heard is left out of the movie, but I have not watched the movie yet. So we read this. It was very interesting to see like a real life account of being lost. Another I Survived. I'm going to put that in a different pile. Okay, this book, my friend Erica told me about this book, Baxter Bear and Moses Moose. And I have to say, this book was super cute. It does have some words, again, like Christmas was used in the other book. I don't remember what they are, but I left those words out when we read. None of them were like super bad words. Like, I think there's a difference between this is a word our family chooses not to use and a word that nobody should use. And so this book didn't have like terrible words in it. Also, it does have a mention of Halloween because the bear is trying to find something to give to a moose. And he says, oh, I should give him a pumpkin. Oh, but it's not Halloween. He's not going to want to carve it. It's like 3 sentences. It's really short. But the book's really cute. The moose is looking for a hat rack and the bear is looking for a hat rack and he wants the moose's antlers. And this guy wants to be able to put his feet on a bearskin rug, but he doesn't want to hurt the bear. You have to read it, but it is cute. You might just want to read it if you're one of those families who's a little more choosy about words. I am a big stickler for words and using not language necessarily like, ooh, you must be grammatically correct and diagram your sentences and all of that, but using words appropriately, not saying things just to say things or to use your words to hurt people, that type of thing. I'm a stickler for that. We have another I Survived. Okay, beside the St. George's, this is another book by that Luthera Burton Dawson. I'm going to save this book because we did not have a chance to read it. The first one, it's like a series of essays, and so this is her second book, and so we're going to keep this and read that out loud. Samuel has really enjoyed G.A. Henty. He is a historical fiction writer about all different kinds of times in history. I think he was around in the late 1800s, so his books are all about times before that, but it even goes back to like the Roman Empire and stuff. So Samuel has really enjoyed these books and they are from a Christian perspective. I didn't read that one. This book was super cute. It's called The Tortoise and the Soldier. We picked this up I think it was on the biography shelf, but this is a true story about a tortoise that was found during World War I. And so the tortoise is real. This is a story of someone finding out the story about the tortoise. So I guess it would be a historical fiction. But it's the soldier telling actual like live stories, like real stories during this book. And so it's a kid who's like a young man who's a reporter questioning the soldier about this tortoise he found. So it's tells stories from like, here's my story during World War I, and also diary entries from World War I. And we found this book to be really good. It has pictures in the back of the actual people that the book's talking about. I don't remember language in here. I feel that this would be an okay book to hand to a child. Like you would need to make that decision for yourself. It does talk about war and they are talking about the dead bodies because at one point he needs to go take a stretcher in and they're trying to find which people are still alive and which people have died. And that's a very real, raw part of war. And so we talk about these things as a family. But The Tortoise and the Soldier, Michael Foreman, F-O-R-E-M-A-N. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. Oh, and I'm probably backwards. Sorry. I might change this around so I'm not backwards if I remember to do that. I think this name's pronounced Lynn. Lynn's Rooftop Garden. This was just cute. It was talking about the different things that this person grew and they were looking for blueberries. And so they go through the different things. Broccoli's, you know, I found a green leaf. Oh, blueberries have green leaves, so this isn't a blueberry, and just different vegetables. And growing them on a garden top, like a rooftop garden, was neat. This book, How to Tap a Maple. We recently went to a maple tree farm. We did not go on the tour back in the woods. It was a really windy, cold day, and just with our balance issues, I didn't think it would be good, but we did get to taste the maple syrup. That is a big part of Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, have a lot of maple trees, a lot of maple syrup is done. And this book very much told the whole process of how it's done. And it also talks about animals that are there. The pictures are really pretty, like animals that are in the woods during that time of year. And then just has really neat pictures, tells how all of it happens. I would really recommend this book, How to Tap a Maple by Stephanie Mulligan. 14 Cows for America by Carmen Agradidi. And this book is about September 11th and the people in the Maasai, I think that's how you say it, tribe in, I think, Kenya. And they wanted to show America that they were sorry for the events that happened at 9/11 and a way to encourage them. So it's about these 14 cows. It's a real story. True to life story. I talked about this book in another video I did, but it's Kids at Work. Lewis Hine was the man who took all these pictures of kids in factories and really brought to life the fact that kids were being used as slave labor in different places in the early 1900s. And he just really brought to light what was going on, and some people knew, oh, those kids working in the factories, they have it really bad and they could get hurt and everything, but then they didn't know about the kids that were working in the fields. And in the book, he specifically says that he is not against kids working on the family farm or having a part-time job, but it was the kids that were being used because they could pay kids less money. So they were having the kids work 12 to 14-hour days, and there were men who actually wanted jobs who couldn't get them because the companies would have had to pay them more to have a man working. So they were using the cheaper slave labor of the children. So that was neat. Some of these books, like this book right here, I haven't read. And so I don't want to give you a review on those. This book was neat. Freedom Over Me, Ashley Bryan. And so this, she found a lady who her husband had died. She found like the rolls of what got sold off with the estate, and that some of those were slaves. And all she knew was the ages and how much each slave was worth. And so in this book, it tells you the age and pay, and then she made up the character. I think it might have even had the name, I don't remember. And she made up the character and talks about what that slave did in the house or for the family. And then it has this person's dreams and what they hope to aspire to, or what they hope is seen from their life. And I just really appreciated the idea that these people were really people just like you and I. And even though they were in hard conditions of being slaves, they had dreams and things that they wanted to pass on, and lives that they wanted to live. And so that was interesting. In this book, even though they are slaves, it says that this family, like, again, this is all made up, but this family was letting them apprentice out so they would learn new skills. And so they had skills to pass on to people, which there were a lot of slaves of different nationalities. This one is African slaves, but of different nationalities that were really very skilled workers that were put in a bad situation because they were stolen from their land. And that is not the slavery that the Bible talks about. That is a whole different story. We were talking about this the other day. Indentured servant is more of the idea we would think of what biblical slavery was, of I found myself in a hard spot, of I'm in a lot of debt. Could I work for you to work off that debt? Instead of we came into your homeland and we stole you and said, you are not as human as we are. You're going to come work for us. Indentured servants, the idea of the Bible was more, you are a fellow person and you found yourself in a hard spot and I want to help you out, and this is the way that I can help you. I remember kind of doing something like this when we were in Kentucky. There were sometimes people who would be going through who would say, I need some money for a bus ticket or whatever. And we'd say, hey, come up to the church building and help us with some cleaning jobs, or, some basic little carpentry jobs that, pretty much you just needed to know how to use a hammer. And then we would pay them. So they were just working for the day to do what they wanted to do. The idea is that do that for a longer period of time. But working for the money you're getting is how the Bible talks about it, not slavery like this slavery that that's talking about. So again, some interesting conversations. This book was very interesting. This is how we do it. And it's One Day in the Lives of 7 Kids from Around the World by Matt Lamothe, I guess you'd say. And so in the book, I got to show you the back page to make it make more sense. But they went to 7 different families in different countries. So it's these families. And they had them take pictures of their breakfast, of their school, of their playing. And so then they drew pictures, like the illustrator drew pictures. So this is what we ate for lunch. And so each country, it tells you. And then there's also certain words that are explained in the back of the book. There's a glossary in the back of the book. My kids really liked looking through this and how different cultures are so different from us, but then also some are so much the same. Another Wimmel book. We like these. If you haven't heard of these Wimmel books, there's just a lot of pictures and you look for different characters in the pictures, kind of like a Where's Waldo. But they have some on like cars and tractors and all of that stuff. We found one, My Busy Day, something like that, that had some things that we weren't okay with, but the rest of them we haven't found. And some of that just has to do with how people dress and things like that. But the rest of them we have found are good. And that's all. That's the end of the books that I have to share with you. I hope that you enjoyed this edition of our library haul. Let me know if you've read any good books recently. I am going to the library today. Samuel has his first driving time here in about an hour. He's taking driver's ed. He will be in the car with an instructor, and I'm going to take the kids to the library for part of that. So we have to pick up a book because I got a book called The Curious Lobster that I'm excited to read. If you've read it, let me know what your thoughts are. And if you have any other books that you have enjoyed as a family, we really like to do read aloud. So let me know down below if there's a book that you liked that you think our family would enjoy and why you liked it so much. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.